Project Veritas is suing James O'Keefe and OMG and 2 other employees for breach of contract, breach of fiduciary duty. It is supreme bullshit. I should not, you know what, I'm going to take that. I'm going to start again so that if anybody snips and clips, there will not be swear words. It is supreme bullplop. There's a concept in Canadian law, Quebec law. I am no longer a practicing attorney, and this is not legal advice. This is common sense. You can Google this. There's a term called constructive dismissal, which is when you basically do something to someone's employment contract, to their terms of employment, to their work conditions, that amounts to compelling them to quit because you are materially changing the nature, the terms of their employment. It's called constructive dismissal because you make life so freaking miserable. You do so much to devastate them at the workplace that they quit. And then you say, oh, you quit. You can't do X, Y, and Z under the contract, when actually you basically you basically fired them in a constructed sort of discrete way, hence constructive dismissal. There's that. There's also termination without cause. Whereas if you decide to fire someone because you just don't like them, this may depend on jurisdictions, which is why it's, never take legal advice from an internet attorney. If you decide just to fire someone, oftentimes under the contract, if you fire them willy-nilly, you can't avail yourself to restrictive covenants in that contract if you did not terminate them for cause. Do we all remember the timeline of what happened with James O'Keefe? They call him in. They publicly announced that he went on vacation. He needs a much needed R&R, I think was the terms that they used. Then they say, we called him in and we were reprimanding him for misconduct. Remember, he stole a sandwich from a pregnant woman. He would frequently berate employees. He yelled at an employee at a trial. He took black cars, paid cars, to go places as though that's unexpected for James O'Keefe, who maybe is not exactly the type of person that can hop in a taxi cab to go somewhere. He used corporate funds for a wedding, which apparently was a corporate event. After they issue all of these slanderous accusations to destroy James O'Keefe as a person, to boot him from the company that he started, the not-for-profit that he started, Project Veritas. After they say all of this, they file a lawsuit against James O'Keefe purporting that he broke the terms of his employment contract because they didn't formally terminate him until May 2023. You can't make this up, people. To quote Mark Robert, Eric Hunley of America's Untold Stories, a must-watch. You can't make this stuff up because it's too stupid for words. Because the only people who would do something like this have to be too stupid for words. This is the lawsuit that they just filed. United District State Court for the Southern District of New York. Ugh. That might work for corruption, but we'll see. I'll just read some of the highlights. We're going to go through this real fast. Being known as the founder of an organization does not entitle that person to run amok and put his own interests ahead of the organization. Yeah. Do you know how many people are going to believe that James O'Keefe put his own interests above the interests of Project Veritas? Maybe a handful who took a hand in drafting this or trying to destroy James O'Keefe. After they yeet James O'Keefe from the company, defame him, slander him, depending on how they did it. If it's slander, if it's spoken, defamation, it's libel if it's written, slander if it's spoken, but it's all defamation. Accuse him of stealing a sandwich from a pregnant woman. He goes and starts OMG Media. He goes and says, thanks, I don't need you. You needed me. I'm going to go start my own thing. He got up to more followers with OMG Media than Project Veritas in no time at all. And they took a hit, and they should have taken a hit to 0. But whatever. Some people don't follow their Twitter accounts anymore. He runs amok. Oh, yeah. I mean, he put the interests of Project Veritas ahead of his own. Remember when he got fired, by the way, it was contemporaneously or like a week after the Pfizer expose, that massively damning Pfizer expose where some dude who worked at Pfizer talking about how Pfizer might be working on, some sort of research so they can have a vaccine ready for a virus that they might be manipulating, whatever. Defendant James O'Keefe failed in his duties to plaintiff Project Veritas, causing it serious and significant damage. Nobody caused damage to Project Veritas except for the board of directors that burnt Project Veritas to the ground and urinated on the ashes. And they're still doing it. Right now, they're upping it to a number 2. O'Keefe must be held accountable and as must the organization O'Keefe created, Defendant Transparency LLC, doing business as OMG Media. Similarly, two individuals formerly affiliated with plaintiffs, defendant R.C. Maxwell and Anthony Yatropoulos, breached their own contracts with plaintiffs for the benefit of OMG. OMG is right, people. Plaintiffs, Project Veritas, yada, 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 they work together. Okay, fine. The parties, plaintiff is Project Veritas. Plaintiff Action Veritas is a non-stock corporation under the laws of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Defendant, James O'Keefe. Defendant, OMG. Defendant, Maxwell. Defendant, Yatropoulos. Okay. Jurisdiction we don't care about. Project Veritas and Project Veritas, they're 501c3 and 501c4 not-for-profit organizations. Okay. Both organizations engage in investigations and reporting aimed at exposing corruption, dishonesty, self-dealing, waste, fraud, and other misconduct. Yeah. James O'Keefe founded Project Veritas in 2010. CEO, yada, yada, yada. Employment agreement. He entered into an employment agreement with plaintiffs, with the operative version being the employment agreement. That's one of the exhibits. As part of the employment agreement, O'Keefe agreed to certain terms and conditions both during and after his employment. What do we got here? Employee shall devote employees' full workings to the company. You got to be loyal. Project Veritas shall be the sole owner of any and all rights in the results of proceeds of employee services. So Project Veritas would own whatever James O'Keefe produced for Project Veritas before they kicked him out of his own bloody company. O'Keefe acknowledged that certain information should be kept confidential both during and the term and after. O'Keefe's obligations, confidential information is the highest confidence, continues beyond his employment. Okay, fine, that's typical. Employment agreement contains liquidated damages. Fine. If you breach something, we can't quantify the damages. It's just we're going to stipulate it's going to be X amount of dollars per day. All right. When do we get to the juicy stuff here? It prohibits O'Keefe during and after his employment from contacting, soliciting, or otherwise communicating with any person or entity that is a donor or prospective donor. All right. Employment agreement also requires that upon separation of employment, he shall return any and all Project Veritas property of any kind. Of course he would. How can you do that when you kick him off, send him home for much needed R&R as you lied to the public, Project Veritas, and said? Plaintiffs suspend O'Keefe pending completion of investigations into his... Listen to this. During O'Keefe's employment, the board became aware of serious allegations by Project Veritas employees about incredibly troubling workplace and financial misconduct. All bullshit, by the way. All unsubstantiated. You had people defending Project Veritas in the aftermath saying, well, they made some serious accusations. They better have some serious support evidence. They don't. Spoiler alert. For instance, the board heard allegations that O'Keefe routinely behaved unprofessionally during team meetings, including by screaming at coworkers and belittling them and their contributions. Oh, any evidence of it in the lawsuit? Nope. O'Keefe was alleged to have particularly targeted female employees. Pull out the gender card. James O'Keefe is a big, bad misogynist. He stole a sandwich from an 8-month pregnant woman. That's what they said at the time. Mean-spirited comments about their lack of contributions to the company. Inappropriate comments about personal situations like pregnancies. Do we have any concrete evidence of these specific statements, recordings, emails? Employees allege. Remember, by the way, what does a liar do? They don't make the lie. They just quote someone who's making the statement that they want to appropriate as the lie. Employees allege that O'Keefe had strained relationships with several donors because he was routinely late for meetings and rude at VIP events designed to give donors extra access. I met James O'Keefe twice. I saw him interact with donors. Dude is not disrespectful at all. No donor in their right bloody mind would complain that James O'Keefe might have been late, even if he were. But imagine, by the way, they're saying they didn't formally terminate him until when? May, I think. But they were investigating all of these wrongdoings. O'Keefe also was routinely late for meetings or canceled them at the last minute. Geez, even if that's true, can I imagine innocuous, hardworking reasons for which that might be true? Yes, I can. Other employees allege that they had personally observed obscene messages between O'Keefe and various women on social media applications when accessing O'Keefe. Oh, you got any of that so-called evidence? The board also learned of O'Keefe's alleged financial misconduct. Alleged. Employees allege. Yada, yada. Don't see much of evidence of this. Multiple employees allege that O'Keefe used Project Veritas employees to run personal errands for him. O'Keefe also allegedly used Project Veritas credit cards for some personal expenses and directed Project Veritas funds to be used for lavish expenses and, in some instances, his personal benefit. I think you took a bath on this accusation the last time you made it on social media, people. Maybe you didn't learn your first time. Directing the organization to pay more than $10,000 for a helicopter flight from New York to Maine without a clear benefit to Project Veritas. Do you have any evidence again? directing the organization to pay for first-class air travel, even where that flight did not satisfy the organization's policy for approving first-class flight. Oh. Not that it wasn't for business. It didn't follow the policy for approving first-class flights. Using his Project Veritas credit card for expensive hotel rooms and suites at luxury hotels without clear business purposes. Oh. When other employees on the same trips were required to stay in budget accommodations. Do we appreciate, this is not to be hierarchical, this is a question of security. Do we appreciate that there might be a difference between James O'Keefe in terms of what he needs to do for himself versus what other employees who we might not even know what they look like, let alone their name? Can we appreciate there might be a bit of a difference there that might explain this, even if this allegation is true? Directing the organization to pay for expenses associated with large organizational awareness events like Project Veritas Experience without engaging in any analysis to help the organization understand the potential return on investment or capitalize on the connections made throughout these events. Oh my God, you guys. OMG. Project Veritas, you are walking yourself into massive counterclaims and potentially claims from other people who are going to say, you destroyed my contribution to this not-for-profit. Had I known you were going to do this, I would never have given my money to you in the first place. I think there's a claim in there somewhere, potentially. Hashtag not legal advice. Listen to this. O'Keefe took it upon himself without authority on February 2nd, 2023, to terminate the employment of the Project Veritas' CFO. And O'Keefe admitted that he was the one who did the terminating. Well-a-chee. If we don't have the entire basis of the fight right here. He fired somebody. That guy was pissed. The organization was pissed. And it was a coup. It was a coup as retribution for James O'Keefe terminating someone. The CFO. Who was it? I forget his name now. The board took immediate action in response to these troubling allegations. The board created a special audit committee to investigate the allegations and retained outside counsel. On February 6, 2023, by majority vote, the board placed O'Keefe on paid leave, suspending his authority to hire and fire staff for 180 days, changing his terms of employment, requiring him to surrender his company credit card, changing it. What the hell do you think you just did to James O'Keefe here, other than publicly humiliate him and constructive dismissal? I mean, maybe. Restricting his access to proprietary information, including donor lists. Oh, there's nothing changing of the essential terms of his employment here. But explicitly indicated that he remains a CEO and member of the board. Why, thank you. After publicly humiliating me, defaming me, shaming me, you say I get to stay on the board as CEO. Oh my goodness. After dragging James O'Keefe's name through the mud and then lying to the public about it. Remember when you said he was on a much needed R&R? James is not the type to take vacation. He's taking a vacation. It's much needed. You lied to people about what you did. You absolutely destroyed or attempted to destroy his good name. And then at the end, you think you save your legal liability for what you just did by saying, well, we told him he could still stay on as CEO and a member of the board. I mean, we kicked him out of the building, took his stuff, took his credit card, basically tried to destroy his reputation to anybody who was listening, but we didn't fire him. He was still a CEO and board member. After authorization to use the card was revoked, O'Keefe continued to use the Project credit card for, we'll see about that. O'Keefe participated in the February 6, 2023 meeting where employee testimony was heard. We covered that. A struggle session apparently, 6 hours, where they basically treated James O'Keefe like a criminal. He refused to participate in a February 10, 2023 meeting at which financial findings were presented to the board, and O'Keefe was suspended as CEO from the board, but not removed as a board member thereof indefinitely, pending the resolution of the board's investigation. On February 15, Project Veritas Director Board put a statement out explicitly stating James O'Keefe has not been removed from Project Veritas. Oh, so you lied. On February 15, after we suspended him from his duties, took his credit card, kicked him out of the building, we put out a statement explicitly lying. James O'Keefe has not been removed from Project Veritas. What did you do? You kept his shell? You kept his face? That's even more deceitful than what you actually did. You basically kicked this guy out of the company. You basically terminated him. You basically defamed him, but you didn't want to piss off the donors or the public, so you went out and lied to the public and said, he's still here. The man, the reason why you're here at Project Veritas, the reason why Project Veritas is still here, he's still here. Don't panic. Don't leave. Don't do anything. He's still here. But we've eviscerated him and tried to destroy him. All right, let's see how that flies. He sent an email outlining the terms of his returns, including resignation of all the board members and vesting him with unilateral control of plaintiffs. Otherwise, he would not return to the employment thereof. Oh, see, they're going to say He quit. We didn't fire him. The board did not terminate his employment, but rather intended to reinstate him with program. Can you imagine? They're purporting that they were going to reinstate him after what they just did to him publicly. My goodness. You know, the thing is, Project Veritas and whichever attorneys drafted this think people are stupid. They treat people like they're idiots. Oh, we didn't terminate O'Keefe after let me just see this. After we did, what did they do to him again? They put him on paid leave, suspended his authority to hire staff, required him to surrender his credit card, restricted his access to proprietary information, including donor lists. Oh, but we didn't terminate him. And I've got a bridge to say, you morons, if you believe that. He was not formally removed until April 24. He was not formally terminated until May 2023. Oh, he breached, and then it goes on to say how he breached his employment agreement by starting OMG. February 17, O'Keefe formed OMG. OMG notes on his website, located in New York, whatever. He lives okay. According to his website, OMG, oh my gosh, it's O'Keefe Media Group. It's an amazing name. Is a media organization managed by O'Keefe with substantially the same mission and structure as Project Veritas. OMG is a company whose website describes itself as having an army of journalists and is building an army of investigators and exposing along with the most elite journalists in the world. OMG website refers to it as never being shut down again because O'Keefe owns it. And it goes on. O'Keefe made multiple public media appearances in which he falsely stated that he was terminated. Oh, no, he wasn't terminated. Hold on. He wasn't terminated. He was just, let me go back to the paragraph. Suspended, put on paid leave, couldn't hire or fire staff, had to surrender his company credit card, had restricted access to proprietary information, including donor lists, but they didn't fire him. You're in so much trouble, Project Veritas. All right, and then it goes on. Do we need to read any more of this? Let's just read a little more. We're at 58. Excuse me. On March 15, 2023, O'Keefe appeared on the Charlie Kirk Show, falsely implied that his separation from plaintiffs was part of the aftermath of the Pfizer story, and falsely stated that he was thrown out by Project Veritas. Oh, he wasn't thrown out. I'll stop doing it after this. He wasn't thrown out. He was just put on, where was it? He was just put on paid leave, suspended his authority to hire and fire, had to surrender his company credit card, had restricted. Oh, but he wasn't thrown out. Idiots. Where else did he go? He went on Steve Bannon's War Room, falsely stated that he had been removed from Project Veritas. A week or two after the Pfizer expose. The appearance on the Foreground program was for the benefit of OMG. Under the Skin with Russell Brand, where he falsely stated that he had been thrown out of Project Veritas. Oh, he wasn't thrown out. He was just fill in the blank. The appearance on the Foreground program was for the benefit of OMG. The appearance on the whatever. So he goes on programs. He went on Human Events with Ben Shapiro. I was a little disappointed my name wasn't in here somewhere, but I thought he had come on and talked about it with us, but maybe I'm wrong. Where he falsely stated that Project Veritas had been stolen from him. It wasn't stolen. We just surreptitiously acquired ownership and then booted you out, but it wasn't stolen. Oh, the appearances of the Foreground, yada. Okay, so bottom line, he goes out, starts his own thing. O'Keefe also disparaged the board by falsely insinuating that the pharmaceutical company Pfizer Inc. orchestrated O'Keefe's suspension, or that it was somehow done to mollify Pfizer. The heck does that mean? A company about which a video had been released regarding potentially disturbing actions taken by Pfizer vis-a-vis the coronavirus. Statements by O'Keefe were for the benefit of OMG, yada. And he made his own video, yada. Okay, fine, there you go. So everything he's doing is for the benefit of OMG, but it was in violation of his employment contract because he wasn't allowed doing that. He owed his loyalty to Project Veritas under the employment contract. Same thing goes to the other two employees. Employment agreement also provides that if Project Veritas obtains an injunction, O'Keefe shall immediately become liable to pay the attorney's fees. All right. If this, what is it? We got it here. So we got cause of action. Breach of contract, bullshit. Breach of contract, bullplop. He breached his contract. My arse. Violation to Defend Trade Secrets Act. Breach of fiduciary duty. Oh, someone broke their fiduciary duty to their donors, to their employees, and I suspect that might be the board of directors of Project Veritas. Maybe we'll see that lawsuit coming from others. Breach of duty of loyalty. Oh, someone breached their duty of loyalty Conversion. What's conversion? Plaintiff repeat the allegation. Under New York law, a conversion takes place when someone intentionally and without authority assumes or exercises control over personal property belonging to someone else, interfering with that person's right of possession. Two key elements of conversion are plaintiff's possessory right of interest in the property, defendant's dominion over the property, interference, or derogation thereof. O'Keefe took and failed to return donor lists and contact information, equipment, as well as unreleased investigative publications by Project Veritas, all of which are trade secrets in derogation of plaintiff's rights. Oh, is this going to be fun to watch litigated out? Replevin. I wonder if he took that donor list or if they were knocking on James's door to support him. Yada, yada, yada. Under New York law, to state a cause of action for replevin, I don't even know what this is. A plaintiff must establish a necessary possessory right to property in defendant's possession. Replevin? What is? I don't even know what this is. I have to look this up myself. O'Keefe took and failed to return plaintiff's donor list and contact information, equipment, as well as unreleased investigative publications by Project Veritas, all of which are trade secrets. Indemnification, yada, yada, yada. OMG through its managing member principal, intentionally and properly. Okay, so OMG via James O'Keefe benefited from James O'Keefe's wrongful actions, yada, yada, yada. And it goes on. Breach of contract. What was the last one here? Breach of contract. Okay. Tortious interference with contract. We've talked about that one in Oberlin. Let's just see what they say there very quickly. The Etropolis Agreement is a valid and binding contract between Project Veritas and Etropolis. Project Veritas Action Fund is intended beneficiary. Okay. At all times, OMG had knowledge of the Etropolis Agreement and its managing members and primary officers or agents. The principal executive basically saying that OMG interfered with Project Veritas contracts with their two former employees, Etropolis and the other guy. And, what's the word? What's the word when you poached their employees unlawfully? Tortious interference with contract. My gosh. How much are they looking for? Let's see what they're asking for here. It's not going to be nothing. Declare O'Keefe in breach of his employment agreement in violation of his fiduciary duties and in violation of his duty of loyalty. Declare Etropolis in breach of the Etropolis Agreement. Declare Maxwell in breach of the Maxwell Agreement. Declare OMG to have tortiously interfered with the employment agreement, the Etropolis Agreement, and the Maxwell Agreement. Declare O'Keefe to have misappropriated plaintiffs' trade secrets. Declare O'Keefe liable to indemnify plaintiffs for their costs of defense and or liabilities arising from actions taken by him or his or errors or omission. Issue a preliminary permanent injunction enjoining O'Keefe and OMG from soliciting or contacting plaintiffs, donors, employees, or contractors, disparaging plaintiffs. There's only been one person disparaging one person here. Obtaining, using, or disclosing plaintiff's confidential information, keeping and failing to return plaintiff's property. Issue a preliminary permanent injunction enjoining Etropolis and Maxwell from keeping and failing to return plaintiff's property. Compel O'Keefe to account for his official conduct under New York State Business Corporation Law 720. Award plaintiffs compensatory, punitive, nominal damages. Disgorge all funds by which O'Keefe and OMG were unjustly enriched. Award plaintiffs exemplary damages, reasonable legal fees. Yada, yada, yada. Good effing luck with that lawsuit. GFL, good flipping luck. And good luck in the lawsuits that are probably pending against you, Project Veritas. Let me check one thing just before. I don't know if it's going to be as up to date. Let's go here just for fun before we move on over to vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Social Blade. Let's see how they're doing today. Project Veritas. Project Veritas. Let's see. Let's just follow this slow motion. What is this? I don't want to start anything right now. I want you to show me exactly what I want to see. Down, all right. They're down more than they were when I tweeted it earlier today. I doubt very much James O'Keefe would have done anything unbecoming. I doubt he would have even had to solicit donors. People were flocking to James O'Keefe, as evidenced by the way that they were flocking away from Project Veritas for what Project Veritas did to James O'Keefe, which was egregious, defamatory, libelous, scandalous, abusive, and any other word I can think of that I can't think of anymore right now. Alrighty, what do we got here?